Hi, welcome to the kitchen with Mrs. Jones, and this is our new series where we record recipes with some of the favourite people that come and visit us in the kitchen. Today we're going to make these absolutely beautiful little Jewish treats that you'll find in the bakeries across Israel, and indeed you'll find them all over in this country too. They're called rugula and they're absolutely delicious. Little morsels, we should only eat one, but actually sometimes two are even better. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my glamorous assistant. Here she comes, Jacqueline Butler of Petalsweet. Hooray, hooray. Hi. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
And you're going to show us something completely, well, what you normally do at home when you're not making your beautiful sugar flowers.
Yeah, this is what I love about these is they're quite rustic, which is kind of a nice change
from
being really precise with the cakes and the flowers and things like that. And they're just a lot of my friends and family are their favorites. So thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, well, you could just start then.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to be making a real simple butter and cream cheese dough. The nice thing about these cookies is that you can change up the filling really easily. So depending on the crowd that you are feeding, like I say, we're gonna, these have a little bit of jam in them, but you can also use nuts and cinnamon and sugar, or even a little bit of chocolate, which is also fabulous. So I'm gonna show you how to do that in a little bit. So what we wanna do is just prepare the dough, and then we're gonna stick it in the fridge for a little bit to chill, and then we'll be ready to roll it out. So it's real simple. Let's get started. I see you have, is this new? Brand new?
Oh, it's brand new. We love this. My mum had Kenwoods, always had a Kenwood machine, and this is one of the newest versions. And Jacqueline, I love it, and I love my glass bowl as well, because then you can see you can see what's going on in it.
It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, we're just going to start real simple here with some butter. Now you're going to post the recipe.
Yes, I'll post the recipe. Yeah. And Jacqueline, being American, all the measurements are in cup size, American cup size. So I'm going to give you the name of the website that does the conversions for the weights into imperial and into metric.
Perfect. Okay, so we're just going to start with the butter.
Do you use salted or unsalted butter, Jacqueline?
Usually use unsalted. And then that way I can control the amount of salt that I put in it.
Yeah.
You know what's really great about these is that it's also, the dough has a very small amount of sugar, so it's not overly sweet. It's just a nice little treat, but it's just kind of just the right amount of sweetness, which is nice. Okay, so we're going to drop the mixer in here. We're just going to soften the butter, cream it a little bit before we add the cream cheese to it. Okay, so just enough that your butter has softened and spread a little bit in the bowl. And then we're going to go ahead and, we're going to add the cream cheese straight from the fridge. Open this up.
So do you think adding the cream cheese straight from the fridge is much better because it is quite a soft cheese, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want it sitting out on the counter and coming to room temperature. It's actually nice, and it's going to help firm up the dough even a little bit faster once we get it back in the refrigerator.
Jacqueline, in this country we seem to get a bit of whey from our cheese, a little bit of water from that. So if I was using cream cheese, would always just drain that.
Absolutely.
But you can buy it in, like it seemed to me when you were talking the other day, larger chunks.
Well, it basically just comes packaged kind of like a brick.
Oh,
like in foil. Imagine like just a package like that. And so you can open it. Looks very similar to butter, just a slightly flatter rectangle. But you open it the same way, and then you can just take pieces of it and then put it in your bowl. But there's no extra liquid or anything like that. All right, so now I just want to do is turn the mixer on and just use it long enough to just make sure these are really nicely blended. You just have to be patient. Okay, fabulous. Just blended together. They don't have to be perfectly smooth. It can look a little bit rough. We're going to add the sugar and a little bit of salt and vanilla, and we'll blend those real quick, and then we'll add the flour. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a scrape down.
That beater that comes with Kenwood is a creaming beater, it's called, and it really smooth, because it's got flanges on the end, it really smooths the, you know, the edge of the bowl, which means that there's nothing left lying at the side.
Yeah, that's terrific. I haven't used this one like this before.
Do you use a mixer for this at home, Jacqueline, or do you do by hand?
No, I do have a stand mixer at home. Yeah, it's just a KitchenAid, and just use the paddle attachment. All right, just a little bit of vanilla.
Oh, love vanilla. Love vanilla extract in this kitchen.
And then just about a quarter teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to wing it, pour it in my hand, and dump it in. No need to...
This is how my mum used to bake, just kind of threw it in, and yet when she was teaching me, I had to measure everything. I find it really hard now to break out of that.
Yeah, I understand, of course. Sometimes when you do these a lot, though, like I said, a lot of times I probably even eyeball the vanilla. I don't pour it in, because we make them so frequently. Okay, and I'm 0 for 2. I got it on the first try.
Yeah. Maybe we just have to coax it a little bit.
Yes. All right, just a quick blend.
Oh, it smells nice with the vanilla in, doesn't it?
Smell the cream cheese. That's plenty. And then we're just going to add the flour in.
So with your sugar, you would just add like a caster sugar, or that we would call it, or a granulated sugar. Could you use any other sugars? Like we have Demerara sugar here that's like granulated sugar, except it's brown. Could you?
Yeah, you probably could. It would probably just add kind of a little bit more of a caramel toffee flavor to the dough. I think sometimes the only thing you can think about is that sometimes those just have a little bit slightly extra moisture in them.
Ah, right.
So you may have to balance out just maybe a few extra teaspoons or tablespoons of flour if your dough felt really sticky.
Right. Okay. Good tip there.
And the flour. All right, I'm going to get it this time. I know I am. Ready? Hold on.
Yeah. Yes.
We want to incorporate the flour on a slow speed anyway. We also don't want to over-mix, because we don't want the dough to get tough.
Yeah.
It's a little bit kind of like if you were making pie crust. Just as soon as everything's incorporated, then we're going to stop. Yeah. Okay. So next I'm going to hand you these little dishes, if I may.
Yep.
And then this way we'll have a chance to, I'm going to roll out the dough just a bit. Do you have any extra flour?
Yes, I do.
I may use. And all we're going to do is just give it a little bit of a roll. I like at this stage to divide the dough into half. And then I'm just going to flatten it a little bit, and then you can wrap them and stick them in the refrigerator. A little extra flour here, and I'm just going to do it the way I do it at home and kind of reach in, get flour the way I do it.
Not like my jars here.
Well, I have jars too.
Yeah.
But usually when I'm rolling things out, I just kind of like to use my fingers.
Yeah, you need a bag like that. That's a really good tip. I'm going to keep that.
If I'm doing holiday cookies or things like that, doing a lot of rolling, I just leave a little bit in the bottom of the bag and just roll it down, and then I just feel like it goes a little bit faster. Okay, I'm just going to scrape off the excess. May I give you the
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Oh yes, it looks really nice. It actually looks like a cookie dough.
Yes.
More than a kind of pastry.
Okay. So like I said, I'm just going to work with about half at a time. And it is a little bit sticky. So.
Shall I cut you some cling film, as we call it here?
Just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour down, and once we have the dough, like I said, we're not kneading it like we would be kneading bread, because again, we don't want to toughen the dough, but it's just enough to kind of bring it together, and then I flatten it a little bit, and then I'll wrap it this way, and then because it's flattened into a disc already, when we pull it out to roll it out, it just makes it a little easier to roll it into a larger circle shape.
Yeah, that's how I would do my cookies as well.
I'm gonna give you that.
Could you freeze that? Because sometimes if I make a cookie mixture and maybe I run out of time at the end of the day, I just pop it in the freezer.
Yeah.
And actually with the grandchildren, it's quite a good thing. It means I can just snap off enough to cook when they're coming, to bake off when they're coming.
Yeah. No, absolutely you could do that. The nice thing about having the little disc is when we go to cut the cookies, you can make somewhere between 12 and 15 per disc or per round. So if that's just all you need to bake off, then it's perfect. You just pull it out and
perfect.
Roll it when you need to. Yeah.
Great.
So in my house, these get demolished. So I'm usually baking up both. I also like to share with our neighbors. So like I said, a little more flour and just kind of rolling the dough around without kneading it. Just to make sure that it's kind of come together. And then gently flattening it. So it won't stick to the plastic wrap, but it's ready to chill and then ready to be rolled, just like that.
When my brother used to watch my mum making dough and cookie stuff like this, he would always have to have a piece of it raw. I think my husband's like that too. There we go.
Perfect.
So we're going to, I'll put these in the fridge. How long are they in the fridge for then,
Well,
Jacqueline?
you need to bake them same day. Ideally, I like to leave them in for a good solid hour, if possible, maybe a little bit longer. So I usually at home I might make the dough first thing in the morning and then roll them out and bake them in the afternoon.
Right, okay.
But you could also leave it overnight.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so I'll pop these in the fridge and then we'll move on and show us how to fill them.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
So we're back again, having let the pastry or the dough, sorry, Jacqueline, firm up. So tell us what happens next then, please.
Yes, so we're just taking one of our discs out of the fridge. It's nice and chilled all the way through. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap it and like to roll it out into a circle shape to thin out the dough. And then I'll show you how to do the fillings.
Okay.
So we just have a nice smooth surface here.
Yeah, it
looks a little bit more.
Looks nice and firm.
Yep. Our flour, especially right in the center. We want to make sure that the dough doesn't stick as we're rolling. And I'm going to move it around a little bit again to just try to maintain that circle shape. I do not worry about making it absolutely perfect. Okay, it can be a little wonky on the sides because we're just going to cut it into wedges anyway. So don't worry about that at all.
Woof, you need your strength for that.
Yeah. And you are a non-handle person.
Yes.
I have all of my rolling pins all have handles.
Well, it's funny you should say that, but I've just ordered one. The one, yes, where there are two handles, but the actual roll kingpins, we call them here.
Absolutely.
And they're much, much easier, particularly if I'm covering a lot of cakes.
Yes.
You need good, strong muscles for that.
Yep. And I feel, yeah, whoop. So a little sticky, so all I need to do is just add a tad more flour on the top. Make sure my rolling pin does not stick.
So in your temperature in San Diego, which is clearly warmer than ours here, at the best of times, you clearly need to work quite quickly with this.
Yeah, exactly. So we do actually get cooler weather in the fall and into the winter, but yeah, nothing like what you guys get. So I try to roll it as quickly as I can. And once we get the cookies formed, we're actually going to be chilling them again. So don't have to worry about if your dough does get a little bit soft, we'll chill the rolled cookies so they don't lose their shape when they're actually baked.
Right, yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of keep it turning. Like I said, you can see this is definitely not a perfect circle, but I'm not worried about it at all because this is all going to be the outer edge that just gets tucked anyway. And these are meant to look rustic. Okay? So just kind of
Do you ever take these as as little party gifts to people's houses? I tend to do that with cookies.
This is a great holiday cookie. And they just always look really, really pretty. You can put them in a box or put them on a plate with others. And like I said, what's so great is you can really have a lot of fun with the fillings. And so if you have a friend or you're going to someone's house and you know they love something specific, a certain type of nuts or jam, and then you can just customize them for them.
Right.
I think that just makes it really special.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've rolled out here. I'm about, this is about, I would say, 1/8 of an inch
Yeah.
thick. Okay, so it's not super thin, but so it's, you can kind of see it looks a little bit kind of like pie crust, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to eventually be cutting these into wedges and rolling them like little crescents. So what we want to do is just kind of fill the pastry with our filling. So I have a number of different things here. I've got some white sugar and brown sugar and some cinnamon, which is fabulous. It's a really great mix with some chopped walnuts. We also have some chocolate, little small chocolate chips, which is really terrific. And you can also use a little bit of jam. We can smear it on the pastry as well. So the ones that we showed at the beginning of the video, those have just some raspberry jam spread on the dough and then some walnuts sprinkled on the top. So I'm going to show you this kind of cinnamon sugar chocolate version.
Right. So you've got, this is seedless jam. Is that, you prefer seedless jam?
That's just what I prefer. Yeah, I don't like to have the seeds in the finished cookies.
Yes.
But certainly if you have a favorite, you can swap it out for apricot or whatever you happen to have in season. And of course, yes, if you do like seeds in your raspberry jam, then by all means use it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Super easy to just change out the ingredients based on what it is that you like the best. Okay, so what we're going to do is just going to sprinkle the cinnamon sugar all over.
Oh, I love that already.
And what's nice is because we're rolling them into the little crescents is that you'll see some of the filling around the inner edges of the cookies. And so this is, I think, is always so pretty. Okay, so just kind of a nice even coating. Now, we're going to put some nuts on, and then maybe I'll do half of it with the chocolate, so we can have that as an additional kind as well. Okay, kind of right up to the edge here. Okay, and the nuts, I'm just going to use my hands. Now, what I found, this is kind of a little secret. Since we're going to be cutting these into narrow wedges, I tend to keep the fillings all around the outer edge so that they kind of get locked up and inside the largest part of the cookie and they don't get lost down towards the pointed end, because sometimes that's where it all just kind of, they fall off and then you don't get a chance to eat them because they're lost.
Or they could go a bit soggy if everything's all in the one, maybe not bake evenly.
Right. So I kind of just make a ring going around here, knowing that all of this is just going to get wrapped up in the pastry and not get lost. So I just
Can you use the hazelnuts and any nuts that you like?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yep. Chopped almonds. You could use pecans. I think you have a phone call.
I think I've got a phone call coming in.
Someone's looking for you.
Yeah, they can wait for us.
All right. So you can see here. So instead of having the nuts all the way down here at the tip, so you just keep everything here on the outer edge. And then on part of it, I might as well, right?
Wow.
Here, might as well do some chocolate.
Oh, nice.
Halfway around.
So any cooking chocolate rather than like a bar of chocolate you could buy over a counter, sweeties, is better off as a more firm chocolate, do you think?
I think so, although you could probably get away with a little bit softer chocolate because it's going to be wrapped up in the dough.
Right.
The only thing I would recommend would be is if you're going to use a bar is to maybe just chop it up kind of finely with your knife first. I think smaller bits tend to work better, better in these.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut, and I'm just going to use a pizza cutter because it's easy to do. And we'll start half and then cut it into fourths. And then each of these fourths can be divided either into thirds or fourths, depending on kind of how small or large you want the cookies to be. Okay, so I'm just going to go all the way across. This is a fairly big section, so just make this a little bit smaller. If you didn't happen to have, you couldn't find your pizza cutter, you can always just do this with a knife.
Oh, piece of chocolate there.
Chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Because you get quite a number then, Jacqueline, from these. And actually, when I did some reading about arugula, they are bite-sized,
Yes.
you know, a little bit more than bite-sized. They're not huge like a
Not
really
like a
delicious
croissant.
French croissant,
No,
for example.
not at all. Not at all. And almost too, what's kind of nice is the smaller they are when you bake them. I think they get a little bit crispier, you know, and there's just something kind of about that, I think, with your coffee or with your tea that's always really
two
perfect.
of them
Yes.
rather than
Exactly.
one of them.
Of course. Okay, so all we're going to do is simply just take one of these one at a time. And then I'm going to take the outer portion and kind of fold it over where I have the most of the filling, okay, just to make sure that I've captured it. And then just very lightly, just kind of rolling it up on itself, like this.
Oh, shall I bring this over?
Yeah. So we have a baking tray, just with some baking paper on it, especially if you're going to be using any jam. You want to make sure that you use the baking paper because it does kind of ooze out and cook, you know, and can crisp up a little bit, and so just make it a little bit easier for cleanup for sure. What we want to do is make sure that your little pointed end is underneath, okay, so that it doesn't unravel. And then I'm just going to lean out, and then I like to just kind of give them, I put my thumb on and just kind of give them a little bend so they are in that crescent shape. Okay. Do you want to give?
Yeah.
You want to roll a few?
Yeah, I'm going to roll this. I'll roll this small one so I actually get it right.
Yeah. And when you're rolling, you don't have to roll tightly. You're just kind of just gently letting the dough fold over itself. And then, like I said, just make sure that that tip, that point, is tucked underneath so it doesn't unravel.
This is a small one, so I might not get the true bend in it. There we go. Shall I do a big one, Jacqueline, or do you want this cut in two?
No. And maybe what we can do is put the larger ones together on a different tray, because they may end up just needing maybe a few extra minutes in the oven.
Right,
just to make
okay.
sure that the inside is completely cooked.
George, our cameraman, can have the large one with his coffee.
For the crew to take home. Yeah, that's what's so great. Like I said, and this is just half of our dough. So
Yeah,
we still have
exactly.
the other half in the refrigerator.
I liked how with these ones they actually look like a real pizza, almost like a real pizza when you were making them with the jam, because it did look kind of cool, like a tomato spread in the middle with all the nuts and things at the side.
Just roll. It's easy though, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like your little tip of putting the join underneath.
Yes.
I think that's very...
Yes.
And you don't worry about this.
No, because it just gets all tucked in. So like even this one here, I kind of have a little extra bit, and I'm just going to kind of fold that over.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then just wrap it around. But yeah, for me, really keeping all those fillings the heaviest up at the top is
yeah. I've left some left some filling behind.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And that's what it would happen even more if we had a lot of that filling down here at the tip. It would just kind of fall off anyway. Yeah. So this way we're able to keep it.
Love the smell of cinnamon as well.
I always had cinnamon toast a lot when I
Oh,
was growing
right.
up. So this is one of my favorite versions of these.
So have you always made this, Jacqueline, or, I mean, was this something you had at home? Or
Not
was
when I was
something...
growing up, no, but just kind of discovered the recipe when I started baking on my own, and just always loved the dough and just loved the kind of size of these and the look. They look very special, but they're easy to make. And so I think that's always great when you're making a gift maybe for something
They look
else.
kind of expensive.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, you know.
So I didn't, but then when I started making them, just fell in love with them. And it was just always, every holiday season, I really enjoyed making them. Okay, so we have everything rolled up and ready to go. And what we're going to do first is actually put these back in the refrigerator, maybe about 30 minutes.
Right, okay.
Just so, the dough has kind of softened and come a little bit more to room temperature. And we want to make sure that they really hold their shape well. So we're just going to stick them in the fridge for about 30 minutes, and then we'll be ready to bake them off.
Okay. So I'll pop these in the fridge and we'll be back with you shortly.
Yeah.
Okay. So our arugula are ready. We put these in the freezer freezer actually for 5 minutes. You can actually put them in the fridge, as Jacqueline said, for half an hour just to firm up. And they're nice and firm now so that they don't spread. So I'm going to pop them in the oven. Jacqueline says they're in for about 18 to 20 minutes, depending on the size of them. We might have to leave some in a little bit longer. Did you see my little raggedy ones there? I think I'll have to improve. So I've got 2 sets of mitts on because I'm prone to burning myself. So here we go. We've already taken one lot out. So this is the second. Oh, Jacqueline, these sure smell delish. So we'll just pop them down here. Don't worry about this work surface, it's especially hot. They just smell gorgeous. Yeah, they smell gorgeous. Look at my little raggedy ones, but they're quite cute, aren't they? Yeah.
No, they're perfect. Look.
Yeah. So I come round this.
Yeah. Swap with you there. Perfect golden brown. We don't want them to go too dark, but again, you want to make sure, especially the little ones. You know, like I said, 15 to 18 minutes is usually great. If you have made some larger ones, you might want to just leave them in there for just a few extra minutes, just to make sure that the dough in the middle is completely cooked all the way through. But yeah, this is beautiful, beautiful golden brown. All right, I'm going to transfer them to the little cooling rack here, just real quick. Now, normally, like I said, I would just let them cool completely, and then you can just, of course, serve them as is. Or what I thought we could do is just give them a nice little sprinkle of, well, powdered sugar, icing sugar for you. Yes. Okay. And normally I like to wait until they are perfectly cool for that, but I think we're just going to jump the gun.
We deserve it.
So we're ready, and we want. So we have our coffee.
Oh, I'm salivating here.
We're ready, right? We're ready to have some now. Yeah. So perfect, just like that. Yeah. And like I said, I just love just kind of the rusticness of them. They're all slightly different. So to me, they just look very handmade, handcrafted. And again, I just think that means a lot, especially when you're giving them to someone as a gift. So I think that's terrific. All right, so just a little bit of sugar. Now this may melt a little bit because they're still warm, but we don't care, do we?
No, not at all today.
Just a tiny little bit. So just gonna kind of come across them. Now if you really like your icing sugar, you can go a little more heavy-handed, but I don't want to hide kind of all the little crescent, you know, the little bits and all the prettiness. So just enough to kind of make them look even more fancy, and then we're ready to go.
I always think when you dust with icing sugar like that, they look kind of Christmassy, don't they? They're quite festive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect for that. Slide that out of the way. So we have our lovely jam and walnut filled here, and then our cinnamon sugar and chocolate. So are you ready to try
What we're going to try first?
All right, I'll have my...
Yeah, got our cup of tea here.
Yes, please.
I'm going to try this one here.
Okay. 2. Ready? Oh, you're going to...
Yeah, I'm going to take it. Yeah, be dainty.
I'm just going to bite.
Oh, that's lovely.
So good.
And the filling is delicious. It's all nice. Well, the nuts are firm, but that cinnamon is just blended and melted into the pastry. Oh,
yeah, it's fabulous. And like I said, it's not overly sweet, which I also love too. It's just enough. It's like perfect with coffee or tea. But yeah, they're not super sweet. So
can we try one of those raspberry?
Raspberry
ones.
Of course, yes.
Thank you. This is where you do need 2, Jacqueline, don't you?
Now the other thing is I have a couple of family members who do not eat dairy. So what's actually really terrific about these, you can very easily substitute the butter and the cream cheese using vegan or non-dairy versions, and do really well, with the recipe. And so that's worked out really nicely. Like I said, especially when I want to make them for everyone to enjoy.
So with vegan cheese and maybe vegan butter, is it softer? Do you find that you have to let it set, the pastry set a bit longer, or is it about the same?
No, usually it's a little bit softer. And you may also want to increase the flour just by a couple of teaspoons or tablespoons. And then, probably let it sit in the fridge a little bit longer, just to make sure that it's nice and firm. And when we refrigerated the dough, it felt really firm when we pulled it out, and make sure that you have that. Now the vegan butter and the vegan cream cheese that I use in the States are actually both quite firm. So I think maybe the other thing to do would be, just if you wanted to try it, just experiment a little bit with some of the brands.
Yeah,
that
sure.
are available. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, here we go. Nice cup of tea.
Thank
cup
you so
to
much for
No,
having
thank you.
me.
That was great. Brilliant. Thank you. And I think we'll let the crew
Yes.
come in and sample now. Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.